I'm Pam Kerouac. I'm with the College Board. At this time, I'm the Director of AP and Higher Ed Policy, but for many years I worked for CLEP and CLEP Policy. So this is actually the third or fourth year that I've come to the Adult Learning Conference, and I feel like all the folks in Georgia have become friends of mine over time, and I'm always happy to come back and work with you on this really important initiative that it's obviously over the years grown and is becoming much more impressive in terms of your footprint in Georgia as well as in your surrounding states. So today, I'm going to share with you some information about how credit by exam can be leveraged against or in creating some accountability for your college completion plans. So as we go through the slides, I've tried to provide information but also provide some context in humorous ways so that we can hopefully enjoy the presentation today. As I move through the slides, if you do have questions or comments, please make sure to raise your hand and contribute to the discussion, because I want this to be very informative for you, and I want to make sure while you're here and you have questions that I can answer them. I also will have my email on the last slide and my phone number. So if you think of a question later, please be sure to email me. I'm happy to be a resource for you. So for the United States, we have tossed around a number of numbers and data, but for this one, we know that 63% of the jobs that will exist in the year 2018 are projected to require post-secondary education of some kind. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but the College Board developed the College Completion Agenda a few years ago, and among the recommendations are kind of 10 steps that states and state policymakers can consider when really trying to increase their college completion rates. So I was one of the authors of this agenda. My responsibility 3 years ago when we developed this agenda was to write the chapter for recommendation number 10. As you see, recommendation 9 is dramatically increase college completion rates, and number 10 is to provide post-secondary opportunities as an essential element of adult education programs. And back then, about 3 years ago when we started writing this agenda, there were people who thought that adult education simply meant getting a GED. So it was really enlightening for a lot of the people on the committee who were writing the other chapters to understand the breadth and the depth of importance for adult education, especially in the conversation about college completion. One of the things that I work with AP policy and with the completion agenda is the continuum of educational outreach about the value of credit by exam. In this continuum, we talk about keeping students, whether they're directly coming out of high school, which we would call our younger students, or our adult students, college inquisitive. What can college do for me? Making sure that there are points to be made that really resonate with both students and families about options for college affordability. Making sure that in this process, students and families remain college eager, that they don't jump into this and say, oh my gosh, this is too much, I can't do this. Once we've got them enrolled, once they've started, that's when the work begins. And when I talk to my admissions folks, they say, hey, we got them in. We're starters, not completers. So it's really taking a whole new approach, a village approach, among our higher ed faculty and our student service personnel about what it means to really keep our students persisting and enrolled. That means being college successful. That means being college completers. And some of my folks even say we need to have college endowment. as our final goal here. I kind of leave that off, though. In terms of credit by exam, we face, as you well know, a lot of anecdotal perception about what credit exam is and is not. So I wanted to provide some bullet points here about what CBE, or credit by exam, is. And just to provide a little sense of humor, I put a little graph up here that talks about the time perception of 1 minute. And so when you look at the graph, you'll see we're looking at the perceived time for in minutes for having fun, for doing nothing, for torture, and waiting for a computer to load something. So in terms of trying to connect what this graph means and what we're talking about with credit by exam perception, we oftentimes run into those who feel very skeptical about what credit by exam can really do or contribute to that student's academic success. And so some points here that I will bring out, and then I'll welcome any questions that you might have or challenges. Credit by exam is an assessment of subject-specific area knowledge, measuring expected learning outcomes related to a comparable college course. That student's exam performance based on a qualifying score can allow that student to earn college credit, and in that, they would be exempt from the courses in which they've earned the college credit, thus allowing them to save time and money, especially in those gateway introductory courses. And then we also have, with credit by exam, shared elements with strong academics. We are very much aligned or keyed in with post-secondary standards and focused on increasing student access, engagement, and academic momentum. So one of the things we hear a lot are, I'm okay with credit by exam. I just don't know if those students are really going to do well in that secret course. How many of you have heard that? Yeah. I'm okay with PLA. They can take a test and they might pass it, but that doesn't convince me that they're going to perform well or be able to do well in the next course. And so I can speak from the perspective of CLEP and AP because we actually engage in what we call placement and predictive validity studies on an ongoing basis. So for AP, we actually start with what we call comparability studies. We take items from AP exams and we seed them, okay? We actually work with faculty in colleges and universities throughout the nation. And they use those items with the students taking the introductory course. So the faculty provide us feedback that indicate the students who were making C's in my class generally could answer these types of questions. The students that were making B's could do this. Students that were making A's could do this. So we start with that as our premise of these items seem to represent what students should know when they're taking the introductory course. Then we go on to the placement validity studies. So we do these at the institution level as well as at statewide level. So one of the things that the College Board offers is called an ACEs validity study, and it's free. So how many of you have faculty who say, I'm just not sure that that student that earned that score on that exam is prepared to do well on the next course? How many of you have them? Okay. The ACEs Placement Validity Study is on the College Board site. It's free. It is free. It is a way that we work with the faculty. They actually, all they do is go online, submit a short form saying, I'm interested in participating. We match data on AP students or CLEP students to their students taking the sequent course. So it's a way that we can compare how well CLEP and AP students are doing in English 102 compared to the students who took the traditional English 100 course. Those results are completely confidential. So they don't have to report that out. It's simply so that they feel more informed about whether or not those AP or CLEP students can perform well in that sequential or subsequent course. We also conduct our own predictive studies, and in Florida, we just finished a statewide study. And the results, the findings actually indicate that students who score a 3 in AP, in calculus A, B, B, C, biology, chemistry, and AP composition outperform students who took the traditional course at colleges and universities throughout Florida, and we measure that by GPA in this sequent course. So we had some legislation that came up a couple years ago where the legislators actually questioned. It was kind of driven by a lobbyist from one of our institutions, but they were really questioning, are these students bringing in scores of 3 able to do as well in the sequent course? So now we have the findings, which we will be sharing everywhere. But it actually confirms the same kind of findings we found in a study in Texas and in other parts of the nation, that these students are actually doing not only just as well, but as well or better than the students who took the traditional course. So a little bit of talking points in terms of challenging perceptions with some reality. What we know about credit by exam and completion. So what we know in terms of, I put a little graphic here. We all know the lyrics of the YMCA, right? So we know, everybody knows YMCA. And I don't want us to start singing it, but we don't really know that sliver that represents everything else or all the other lyrics in the song. Oops, I've got a little thing here. What we do know about credit by exam and college completion are these. Big, I think, 3 major talking points. Credit by exam can help colleges identify college-ready students who have knowledge, skills, and academic behaviors for college success. So when you're working with adult learners and they have already a transcript of AP credit somewhere from somewhere along the line, that's already an indicator that this student is already most likely prepared to do well academically. If this is a student who's coming in with an interest in taking a CLEP exam and they take the CLEP and they make a passing score of 50 or higher, that's an indicator that this student is probably ready to move into some stronger academic course choices. And it's probably something not ignored, but not used widely. And so I would encourage, when you're working with recruiting adult students, that of course you're talking about CLEP as an option for them, but also ask if they may have an AP record that we're just kind of forgetting about. Credit by exam scores may be used to appropriately place students in courses that academically challenge and engage. Okay, so here's what happens. When students come in and they have met their qualifying scores for CLEP or AP, and they get to the institution says, yeah, we don't really give you credit for AP or CLEP or for those scores. We're going to need you to go ahead and take that course. So they, had qualifying scores in English composition in AP or CLEP. So they show up and they say, yeah, you're really going to need to basically retake that course. What do we know about the behavior of those students? Right. We're not exactly encouraging them or recognizing them. We're actually probably doing more damage. We know that those students' attendance is not at the best. We know sometimes they just assume they know it all and they're not going to go to the class. But what we do know about those students who are recognized and exempt from those introductory courses, they actually go into the sequent course really engaged from the very beginning. They feel like they've been appropriately placed, their attendance is strong, and they actually do well. They do as well or better than the student who took the intro course. They're glad to be there. Students who do well on credit by exam are more likely to succeed in the sequent college courses, and I've just talked about those studies, and also to graduate in 4 or 5 years. So we encourage you to go to the College Board research page because we actually list the abstracts and the full study PDF of the study for both AP and CLEP, showing that these students are graduating in 4 or 5 years when they are recognized for their PLA, AP, and CLEP credit. People ask a lot of times what the College Board offers in terms of credit by exam, and you know about CLEP, and you probably know about AP. Some people don't know that we actually are in the same family. We are both College Board programs, CLEP and AP, and I see Suzanne walked in, so Suzanne McGurk is with CLEP. And one of the things that we really want to emphasize is that both CLEP and AP exams rely on robust content and assessment frameworks. So with CLEP and AP, we involve higher ed faculty from all over the nation to develop the content of the curriculum for AP and the content of the exams for AP, as well as the content of the exams for CLEP. Academic proficiency is comparable to what students who complete college-level work are expected to know and demonstrate. Our AP exams are also associated with a rigorous high school curriculum and then the externally assessed annual exam. So a difference between CLEP and AP is that AP is associated with a high school curriculum and the AP exam is administered only one time in the spring at the high school. CLEP is an on-demand computer-based test that's offered at most colleges and universities that offer CLEP at their testing center. So the student doesn't have to wait just to take it one time like AP students do. It's available when that student is ready and it's offered from the institution. How many of you offer CLEP testing at your institution? Everybody? No? We want everybody. So if you're interested, you need to see Suzanne because she can help you get that set up. Is there anybody who has not set up CLEP but you're interested? All right. Well, we'd love to see you open up those opportunities because what you're doing is you're making that convenient for your adult student. You're also making it convenient for prospective students. I can't tell you the number of colleges in California who said, you know what, they couldn't find a place to test for CLEP. I'm going to offer it on my campus and see what happens in terms of being able to draw that student to my campus and then present them with information that might really interest them in enrolling here on my campus. And both offer the opportunity to earn college credit for what a student knows, obviously saving time and money. Adult students as the percentage of CLEP test takers. So if you take a look at the breakout for the exam titles, you'll see where adults tend to tend to take these exams, and then you'll see the equal share exams. And that may be changing, and Suzanne can probably speak to that. But you'll see the adults that take more than 60% of these exams oftentimes come from a background in the working environment where they feel really comfortable taking accounting or business law, or have been working in childcare or in nursing or in some capacity feel like they could do well in both the human growth and development and the educational psych courses. So Complete College America has listed some essential steps that states should take right now, and I just wanted to talk about two of them. One of them is count all students. Set state and campus level goals and uniformly measure progress and success. When we are leaving out our part-time students, we are not counting them in this very important measure or metric for college completion. Reduce the time it takes to earn a certificate or a degree. The surest path to increase college completion is the shortest one. This does not mean dumbing down learning opportunities or undermining quality. And so that's kind of a challenge that we face with credit by exam is some faculty think that by allowing students to earn credit through an examination, that we are in some way dumbing down the academic rigor of their course pathway. Sometimes there's this skepticism that when students are able to earn credit by exam, that we are going to cannibalize your gen ed. It's simply not true. CLEP students on average take 1 to 2 exams. AP students on average take 1 to 2 exams. And so if they met passing scores on the 1 to 2 exams, how many credits could they possibly earn? Yeah, 6 probably. Probably 2 courses, 6 credits, perhaps 4 or 8, depending on what the equivalent credit is for that course at your institution. So they're not generally cannibalizing your general education. They're actually helping you to manage your enrollment a little bit better. We must ensure that unnecessary credit requirements are not barriers. Demand robust, comprehensive transfer agreements across campuses, systems, and states, so students can easily take their hard-earned credits with them instead of losing valuable time when they must continually start over. Students who leave early experience higher unemployment rates and earn less money than those who earn their degree. I think that's a no-brainer. Only 7.8% of part-time students attending 2-year schools earn their degree in 4 years. And only 24.3% of part-time students entering 4-year schools finished in 8 years. So increases in the cost of college also lead to more students using loans. According to the education sector, the students who borrow to pay for college are also more likely to drop out. So in talking about credit by exam access and affordability, students who leave college early due to all the stresses that we've talked about throughout this conference, the financial burdens, the lack of guidance and knowledge about college-related decisions, or because they were just unsure about what they could get, what was the value of completing college. In 2011, the median tuition for a 3-credit course at a 4-year public institution was $666. And then in 2011-2012 College Board reports that the average cost for books, and it's probably going up, right, is about $1,168 at public colleges, and it's higher for private. 70% of CLEP test takers said their CLEP credits made a difference in their ability to finance tuition and other fees. And 66% of AP students report that college credit policies influence their decisions to take a course in the exam. So making sure that you have an AP and a CLEP policy, that it's posted on your website in an easy-to-find, transparent way, is helpful for students actually deciding, do I even want to take this test? Do I want to send my score? So if you haven't developed a policy, or if you haven't posted it in a clear, transparent way on your website, please do. Also on the College Board, we report what you post on our search site. So our search site is visited by thousands a day. So when you think about recruiting students, they're looking to see what's that AP and CLEP policy at that institution. And if you haven't updated it for many years, or even have one, that's what they're going to see on our site as well. So it's really, I think, an important marketing and recruiting tip. So how do we facilitate the reentry of our stopped out or our adult students? Reentry also means preparing to overcome many barriers. So having those available courses and schedules for part-time working adults is so important. Having the availability of alternative delivery modes. Making sure we're talking not just about affordability, but financial literacy. So I did a presentation a couple weeks ago in Miami where we were talking about one of the factors associated with Hispanic Latinos stopping out is the need for financial literacy. Many of these students are qualifying for scholarships and loans, but within the first year they're stopped out. And what we found in the research that we were doing is they just simply didn't know what to do with this money. They were just not prepared, financially literate. So there are some institutions, including the University of North Texas, that have developed some really good mandatory first-year orientation modules that require students to participate or enroll in these financial literacy programs so that they're better able to manage that money their first year and hopefully persist into the second. And then always the availability of prior learning assessments. So why is this data important in the credit by exam dialogue? When we start to track the performance of students who take credit by exam, we are able to help colleges identify those students, again, who have the knowledge, skills, and academic behaviors for success. Credit by exam scores provide a measure. A measure. How many times have we heard that's a high stakes measure, there are other things to consider? We agree with you. This is one measure, and the student's score on an exam is one measure of their academic knowledge and skills. You obviously are looking at multiple measures when you're considering admission to any of your returning or adult students. Credit by exam students do well on exams and are more likely to succeed in sequent college coursework and graduate. One of the things that we do encourage besides the ACES validity study is a partnership with college boards. So our research department will allow for both data sharing and data license agreements. So if you said, I want to really track my adult students coming back in, taking a CLEP exam, getting their math and their English introductory coursework done, I want to see how well they're doing in year 1 and year 2. We can match that data file with your students. So I encourage you, if you're interested in that, you can contact me or you can contact Suzanne, and we can connect you with the research team at the College Board so you'll have that data moving forward. So hitting the reset button, so tracking credit by exam performance. I put this problem-solving graph here. How many of you have been in this situation where you're really trying to figure out why your computer is bogged down or not working? So we look at the probability that it's something that you need to reconfigure or re-image, or you need to get some antivirus software or some other computer jargon, or just turn it off and on again. So I see some similarities to what we have to do in terms of the conversation about credit by exam. It's kind of just resetting the button. For many years, we've had a lot of folks who just have lived off of anecdotal perception of what students could and could not do based on their exam performance. And we're kind of moving gratefully with the PLA movement, with all that you're doing with the Adult Learning Consortium, into a more progressive mindset. So we know that all education stakeholders, we call it cradle to grave, need to understand how to utilize data in a contextual way to problem solve and answer critical questions. It's not enough just to report data. You have to be able to use it. Colleges must seek ways to improve their efficiency, instead of relying on the anecdotes and word of mouth that formulate credit by exam policies. I can't tell you the number of times, I know Suzanne's run into this as well, where I've gone to an institution and talked to a vice president or provost about their policy for credit by exam, and they say, yeah, we just looked at Yale's or Harvard's policy and we just made it our policy. And I always think, yeah, there are better ways to establish credit recommendations for CLEP and AP, and they don't involve just copying somebody else's policy. It's because maybe somebody else's policy was never reviewed either. It was just something they slapped up there. So in that review, we do ask faculty to look at the content of the test information guides for CLEP and the content for our AP exam curriculum frameworks, and make informed decisions about how well the content of these exams line up with the introductory course content and the learning outcomes expectations for those courses. Student level data always shines a light on the probability of what is working. So it's a great way to see how well your AP and CLEP students are doing in their progress towards degree completion. Decisions at all levels are informed by this high quality data, and it's always aimed at improving the achievement of all students. So we talk about data. What we know from history is that data has mostly been used for compliance reporting. You know, we had to actually fill out these reports, whether it was for the federal or the state audit, but we just were putting numbers in there. So today we have much more robust data. We're much more able to track student progress over time, and we're able to drill down into subpopulations like CLEP students, AP students, adult students, students with 30 or more credits. So with this robust data, we can actually be much more responsive in terms of action and strategy. Oh, I had to put this one up. Things that reportedly taste like chicken. So the scale is chickeniness. So I don't know. I'm going with KFC, but apparently they didn't think so. They thought rat was more chickeny. So in terms of data and context, this is where I really want to emphasize the importance, as I have just already. We've moved from just reporting data to the importance of using that data in context. So how many of you are Facebookers? Yeah, I am not. So I'm an outcast. My granddaughter is just astonished that I don't Facebook. And here's why. Here's exactly why I don't Facebook. So I try to explain that to her, and she doesn't actually get it yet. But what I wanted to share here is that it's not about the numbers of friends you get on Facebook. It's really about the value of those friendships that people can appreciate on their Facebook relationships. And so the same holds true for data. We're looking for the value of that data, or the usefulness or the meaning of that data in informing our decisions. So not just using one test score, but using the test score in conjunction with a number of other factors about whether the student can be successful at your institution, and what are the other resources that we need to provide to ensure that kind of success. So data validity. Wanted to, again, just remind you that we are often challenged by objective or subjective opinions. We are often challenged by the idea that test scores are just a one-dimensional source of information. So I wanted to put a question to you. As you're evaluating your returning adults and your applicants, how do you integrate credit by exam and PLA achievements with other sources of data to make an informed decision? Can somebody or anyone share with me some of the other sources that help inform your decisions? Yes, ma'am?
Sometimes they need a upper level course, and there are things on their transcript that say they may have had something similar to that at the lower level 20 years ago. And they wrote come in and said, don't look at that, that was another line.
Yeah.
They talk about what they were doing and working.
That's true. And sometimes we'll even see students who've come in with a CLEP score that's 10 years or 20 years, 30 years old, you know. And so it may be retaking the CLEP. And so the upper level course also is another good point. It's important to know that both CLEP and AP exams equate to introductory lower level courses, but it's the stepping stone towards being prepared or meeting that prerequisite to go on to the upper level course. Anything else that goes into your consideration of admitting an adult student, a returning student? Well, you look at all kinds of factors. Are they going part-time? Are they going full-time? What kinds of financial resources are available to them? So again, just keeping in mind that data validity serves as one of the measures when you're making those high-stakes decisions. Some other questions. Does your institution view credit by exam as a consistent measure of academic achievement? That's something that you can take back to your institution and ask. Who is the point of contact at your institution that really reviews credit by exam content and tries to make sure faculty are involved in understanding the alignment with introductory coursework? What are some of the criteria that you evaluate to indicate students' readiness for rigor? Can credit by exam be used to scale up or increase enrollment in specific disciplines? So when you have a particular department at your institution that's very interested in recruiting adult students into a particular field, how receptive are they to allowing credit by exam to be the introductory gateway into that discipline? I know in some cases the world languages departments are really trying to recruit students. So using the AP or the CLEP Spanish language exam is a great way to allow that student to demonstrate their language proficiency, earn that college credit, and maybe develop an interest in pursuing a degree in that major. How do you use credit by exam to most efficiently allocate resources? So in terms of enrollment management, there are sometimes that CLEP and AP can help manage those overcapacity bottleneck courses. When you have a number of students who all need English 101, how does AP and CLEP help you manage those overcapacity courses? If you're awarding credit for students who earn qualifying scores in CLEP 101, you can move those students out of that course, exempt them, and place them more appropriately in 102. And by doing that, free up seats for those who do need them in the English 101. What we know about credit by exam and transfer students. So this, of course, came out of the Road Less Travel. 2 out of 3 post-secondary students attend 2 or more institutions of higher ed before obtaining a baccalaureate degree. 1 in 5 attends 3 or more institutions. Is that a surprise to anyone? Yeah. It's something probably much more prominent with your returning adult students. Given the differing and complex credit by exam credit policies among some colleges and institutions, a lot of these students can spend a lot of time and money trying to figure out if their qualifying exam scores will be recognized for credit or whether they will be required to retake those introductory courses. So again, taking a look at your credit policies and making sure in your conversations with transfer students that they're aware of these options that are available to them. Oops, sorry. So another value in terms of credit by exam is the credit portability. So when students take AP or CLEP, they're taking a nationally recognized standardized assessment. When they take a challenge exam at your institution, that credit is recognized by your institution, and it might be recognized by some other institutions in Georgia where you have an articulation agreement. When this student comes to you from Timbuktu, Iowa, and they have a CLEP or an AP score, that is probably very credit portable. So their value here is always in the credit portability and the seamless transfer of a nationally recognized credit by exam program. We call it our common currency. It's a common language. We are recognized not just in the United States, but internationally as well. And you'll see that in terms of students coming from Hong Kong or other countries, but also for our CLEP military vets. Credit by exam data can inform state and public policy. So I put this little continuum here, and you can figure out on your own where your perception is about what your state policy makers do with data. Some state policymakers make decisions about resource allocation blindly without information on which programs produce the greatest return on their investment. And maybe, hopefully, we're moving away from that place to state policymakers collaborating and using reliable and quality data to achieve common vision and goals increasing achievement for students in their states. And hopefully they're making this information available so that they can make the tough decisions and allocate the scarce resources to the research proven programs, making evidence-based decisions. Not sure where you are here in Georgia, but hopefully you're moving all the way over there to the right. Findings on AP research. Quickly, AP fosters persistence in college success. All of these findings and all of these studies, again, are on the AP research site, which I've listed at the bottom here. AP students that were exempt from the introductory course did as well or better than the non-AP students, and those were measured by higher overall GPA. And those with AP exam scores of 3 or higher were more likely to graduate in 4 to 5 years. And one of the other studies that we have found, which I find very interesting, is that AP students generally take more courses in the discipline. So we also hear people who get all freaked out and say, oh, if they're going to make credit by exam the way that they earn a degree, they're just going to be like finishing in 2 or 3 years in college. And we just, we don't think that that's a fair pathway for students to earn a degree. As I said, most students are bringing in 1 to 2 exam scores for credit. But what they're doing is they've already developed an interest. So I talked about the Spanish language, or I talk about the student who comes in and they've taken 2 exams in sociology and psychology. They've already started to develop that interest, especially if they've earned passing scores. What are we doing with those students? Are we advising them and saying, it looks like you've already developed an interest in this area? In that, here are some potential majors that you might want to explore or pursue. Or when they come in, are we just like, oh, well, check that off. You did your gen ed. Good luck. Have a nice day. AP students in Georgia. 72,384 Georgia students took 120,000 plus exams. A little over half of those students earned scores of 3, 4, and 5, and you can see the red, the gray, and the yellow in the graphic below. A total number of 65,818 exams resulted in the 3, 4, or 5. And based on the current policy, if we were to calculate the economic impact, this would represent a potential 1,970,000 plus college credits. And if we multiply that times the average $165 per credit hour, now granted that's the average, so we're averaging everything for Georgia. The total potential cost savings for students and families was $32 million. I provide this talking point to legislators in every state. So when we really want to talk about providing affordable options, credit by exam has to be in the conversation. Students who earn 3 or higher on AP exams, again, tend to earn higher GPAs in sequent courses, and you can just kind of see a spread there of where they're actually doing well in terms of the exam titles. These are the most popular exams taken by AP students. And there is a new website that we've just launched for AP and higher ed, so I encourage you to take a look at that. We have additional resources, the AP website, the CLEP website, the research studies, and of course the summary report that we just released this year. So if you want to download a data report that shows how many students sent scores to your institution last year as graduating AP seniors, where those they sent, how many sent the scores, what exams were sent to you, and the scores for those exams. And you can also identify the in-state high schools that sent scores to you, the out-of-state high schools that sent scores to you, and the international schools that sent scores to you. This is free. We just produced it this year. We've been trying to get it out to everybody. So if this is useful for you, please go to this website and you can download. If you want to grab me, I've got a card and I can certainly send a copy to you as well. Thank you. I hope you learned something today, and I wanted to include my final little graphic, things I learned from watching CSI. I'm sorry if I've offended any CSI fans. But basically, you can see that you have a very small sliver of the things that I would find useful if you were actually in criminal justice. But this is a humorous little slide that I thought you might enjoy. For more information, you can certainly contact me at pkerouac@collegeboard.org, and my phone number is here. I'm in Tallahassee, so I'm close. I work a lot with Mary Ellen and Trish, so if you would like for me to come to speak with any of your folks at your institution, I'm happy to do so. Just let me know.